Hey gang, welcome to Two Blokes from Down Under. I'm Simon Guthrie. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Ben Ennis. How are you, Benny?
Good, mate, and you?
Very well, thank you, Ben.
It's good.
Ben, Season 2 of Two Blokes from Down Under is brought to us by Ken Mustard Automotive for all your motoring needs. Pop down and see the team for Isuzu Ute, Ram Trucks, MG, Jeep, Subaru and Mercedes-Benz. That's Ken Mustard Automotive, 215 Benalla Road, Shepparton. And this episode's brought to us by Extons of Benalla. Proudly family owned and operated since 1952. Extons are your one-stop for all your earthworks, bulk haulage and equipment sales. You can find them at 85 Gilly Street, Benalla, or jump on their website at extons.com.au. Benny, a little different today. We've got our first cricketer.
Yeah.
How good?
Good. Good to be different.
Good to be different. You're a little different. Let's get into it. Our next guest started his cricket journey in the backyard at Tallygaroopna with his four brothers. He progressed through the ranks of local juniors to seniors, then to the state team, the Victorian Bushrangers. He then travelled halfway around the world, where he debuted at the famous 200-year-old cricket ground, Lords, for a county cricket side, Warwickshire. Welcome to Two Blokes from Down Under, Ryan Sidebottom. How are you, Golly?
Yeah, very well,
Welcome,
boys.
mate.
Cheers.
Before we get going, I'm going to refer to you as Golly. How did you get that nickname, mate?
Again, in the backyard, I reckon, back home in Tallygaroopna. We obviously spent a fair bit of time out there, being one of five boys. But this went back a bit further to when I was, real young, and that was one of my first words. And my dummy was Golly, so everything was Golly. And then we had a dry block in between us and our neighbour, and so we used to do everything, kick the footy and ride the motorbikes and do all that kind of crap in there, and I used to run from side to side, golly, and so it stuck, and I don't get it too much anymore. Obviously, being over in the UK, no one really knows me as Golly, but coming back here, I don't get Ryan much back here anymore. It's all Golly or Sidey or which one are you, really? So,
Oh, that's a little funny.
That's classic.
All right, Gol, where did it start, mate? Where were you born?
So I was born in Shepparton, in the Golden Valley Hospital there, and then grew up in Tallygaroopna.
So Tallygaroopna was about 10 minutes north of Shep.
15 now because it's 80 k's. So.
15 minutes. Sorry, man.
That's all right.
One of five boys, and you would be the second youngest.
I am number 4, yep.
All right, reel off your brothers.
So we've got Trent's the eldest, and then it's Tyson, Josh, myself, and Steele.
Reel off their nicknames.
So Trent was Buff, now he's Sid. Tyson was Flea, because he was quite small as a kid. Josh used to be Couch, because he was born on the couch, but he goes as Twiggy now.
Is that for real?
Yeah, genuine. Yeah, he was born at home on the couch. Yeah,
That's a new one.
They nicknamed him Couch.
Well.
So, but he gets Twiggy now because he's so skinny, and then Steele gets Rusty. So it's always been Rusty. So.
Oh, well.
It's a tad funny.
Oh, that's gold.
So growing up, mate, one of five boys. What was it like?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It got intense in times, but as I said earlier, we spent a fair bit of time outside. So, Mum and Dad obviously got sick of us being inside fighting or doing whatever. But
That's five boys do.
Yeah, we got pushed outside pretty much all the time, and we backed onto the footy ground at Tally there. So if we weren't in the backyard, we were over at the rec reserve there, hitting golf balls, cricket balls, tennis balls, whatever. Just, basically keeping ourselves amused while Mum and Dad weren't pulling the hair out, I guess. But no, it was good. Like I loved it. Like you, obviously you've got three older brothers, and you have to hold your own because you soon get sick of losing. So
You do.
But yeah, I don't know whether that's held me in stead for what happened later on in my life, in my career and whatnot. But yeah, it was pretty good growing up. You're never short of a partner to play something with.
Yeah.
So.
You're all pretty competitive too, and you're all half handy at what you do.
Yeah, it does get pretty in. Yeah, it gets very competitive.
When you play darts, is it competitive?
No, that's probably one thing we never really played much because I reckon that
Table tennis.
I reckon it probably might have got a little bit more dangerous when the darts come out.
Mum and Dad knew to stick away from that one.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
So I went to primary school at Tally Primary, and then went to school at Wanganui in Shep.
Did you finish school?
I finished year 12. Yeah, I was one of. There was only two of us that did VCE, and excuse me, Trent and I were the only two that have finished VCE, and Steele did VCAL, and I think he was only there for the social side of it, but the two other boys, Josh and Tice, they left early with apprenticeships. So
yes. When did obviously you played sport all the time? Where did you first? What did you do first? Footy, because I know you love your footy too.
Yeah, so footy probably. It would have been probably the first one with Kingutna just in the fourth there. Actually probably going back a bit further than that to primary school footy with Northerners, which was Tally and Kingutna combined with the two schools, and we had a pretty handy side between Steele and I and a couple of the cousins that were playing as well. That probably started there with the full school footy, and then I always loved playing footy. I do miss it occasionally, but haven't been able to because I haven't been home for a winter for a while. So I don't watch too much of it, so I don't give me chance to miss it. But
you don't watch it much anymore?
Nah, because I try not to. Because if I watch too much, then I sort of start to miss it a bit. And
really,
I try and keep an eye on how Rusty's going, and then it's not broadcast over in England much.
Yeah, okay.
So Friday nights Friday nights here are generally pretty good because it's on Saturday morning, so you'll get up with the little one now and watch and keep an eye on sort of things. But if he's not on sort of a morning time in the UK, I'm not getting up at stupid o'clock to watch it. So.
He's family, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you played fourths at Kingutna.
Yep.
Did you play thirds anyway?
Played thirds for Kingutna and Tally. Because Kingutna was under 17s and thirds was under 18s. So I left Kingutna and went back to Tally and played thirds there for a year and then progressed into the senior team from there.
Seniors
at Tally, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. I played a couple of years of senior footy at Tally and then
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, as a 19-year-old.
Yeah, okay. When did you shoot up? Because you're always a little fella.
I was, yeah. I was a late bloomer.
You were.
I don't think I properly finished growing until I was probably 22, 23.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
But I shot up over sort of when 20, between 20 and 21, I reckon I did most of the growing.
How tall are you now?
Just 6'2", and a half.
Yeah, okay.
That's almost unheard of.
Well, it is. It's very late. So for those you don't know, and you obviously don't know, but when you were 14, for instance, Rusty would have been 12, roughly.
Yeah.
They looked like twins.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, but he didn't really grow up, shoot up at all. So I suppose that was like till 16, 17, really. Like obviously you got bigger and bigger, but
yeah, I was still pretty short at 18.
Yeah.
But obviously, grew a little bit, but didn't do most of my growing until I sort of
all of a sudden,
turned
bang!
20,
Christmases after that were pretty good because I reckon by the time you get 18, you're like, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah. So no. It used to piss me off a fair bit, to be honest, being called Steele's twin or, getting asked all the time, are you twins? And you're like, no, I'm older. But you just sort of, you have to let it go. And then everyone will be like, oh, you'll be right. Good things come in small packages. And I'll be like, oh, you fuck off. But so it used to wind me up a little bit. And then grew and on the second tallest in the family. Josh has got me by about an inch.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Wowzers. Classic. Just went bang one night and woke up and holy shit, he's 6'2". So, how'd you go at footy? Like when you finished thirds, you played seniors?
Yeah.
What was Tally like then?
I'm trying to think. They weren't too bad. I think we played finals footy in one of the years that I played there. So we weren't too bad. But then I would consider myself a bit of a battler as a junior because obviously being so short, you weren't you weren't in any of the key position teams. But then again, when I grew, sort of footy, cricket, it all sort of progressed at a quicker rate, and it happened like that overnight. Really, that once I grew, it all sort of clicked, and I grew into my body, and everything sort of just clicked and got better as I went along. And I moved into Shep after Mum and Dad they separated, and we moved into Shep with Mum. So I've been into Shep for a while, and obviously I had your license, so I could drive, go wherever I wanted to now. And I decided that I'd give GVL footy a crack, and went into Shep United with Tyson, wanted to play with Tyson, and we played in the 2010 flag together with United. So that was probably one of the highlights.
So the year before that, you played reserves at United, or you didn't?
No, so I played one senior game on permit. The last game of the year in 2009. I went out and played on a permit for United, and decided, stuff it, I'll give it a go, and went in, and I was sort of in and out of the first and second teams, and cemented my spot towards the back end of the year, and played in the flag. And then
that was 2010.
That was 2010, and then sort of that cricket season, the summer before, over the Christmas year, sort of had a pretty good cricket season, and we played in a losing grand final against Central Park, who were a pretty handy team at the time. But
let's stick with footy for a sec, because footy career doesn't go that far.
Okay.
So
he'll go back and start cricket after. Yeah. Right. Okay.
So 2010, you're at United.
Yep.
I watched that grand
final. How old were you then?
2010, I would have been 20.
Yeah, right.
So I watched that grand final.
Did you? 19, yeah.
Yeah.
Golly's played senior football in a grand final. He's gone all right too. Yeah. He's played all right. You did all right that year.
Yeah, I spent most of the time on the bench, but...
Yeah, but you're still playing GVFL football, mate.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with how I went, but...
Won a flag next to your brother.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty good memory to have, really, isn't it? So,
pretty special.
What'd you do 2011?
So I was back and forth from Melbourne because cricket had sort of taken over.
So you didn't play a lot?
So I was back in the car driving back to Shep. I still played with Shep United, but spent more time in the twos that year than...
Yeah, because you couldn't get there.
Yeah, so I couldn't train as much and do all that. So
then you played one more year of football?
I did, yeah.
Followed Tyson again? Yeah,
so I wasn't playing footy at all because I'd had a stress fracture in my back in the summer, and I had Kingupna come and meet with me in Melbourne, and I was adamant. I was like, no, I'm not playing. I can't do it. I want to give cricket a bit of a crack, and if I'm going to play footy, I'm not doing it for the right reason. So I knocked him back and said I wasn't going to play, and then stupidly come home a couple of weekends in a row and went and watched a couple of games, and after a few beers signed up. So signed up and played 3/4 of a year.
So played 10 games?
Yeah.
How many goals kicked?
Was it 59?
60 goals in 10
Fair
games.
effort.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Represented the league?
Yeah, did that. I was lucky enough to be asked to do that, and we went over to Mildura, I think it was. We went over to Mildura and...
got whooped.
Yeah, we got belted. I think it was like 110 points or something like that. Yeah, it was
Still played red footy, mate.
It was a flogging.
Fair to say you could have actually gone all right in country footy. You could have, if cricket wasn't there...
I think that year was probably my best year of footy, to be honest. I think I'd just been sort of pigeonholed into sort of being a wingman because I was, a bit slim and, could run. So they were like, we'll stick you out there and we'll, give you a crack out there. But I think the year at Kingupna, I played more key forward. I was either centre half forward or full forward. And I think just having a bit of a turn of pace and, it worked out all right. So.
Did work out all right?
Yeah, it did. Not a bad little footy career. But cricket got in the way. So let's go all the way back to when you started cricket.
Yeah, so that would have been in the backyard with the boys. I think, being one of 5 boys and having 3 older brothers, I wanted to do what they did, and I've been lucky enough to do that, to do what they did play with them for a lot of it, and then progressed to go a little bit further on. So
they all good cricketers?
Yeah, they're all handy sportsmen.
They're not all bowlers, though, are they?
Trent and Josh are bowlers. Tice is a batter that is a pretty handy fielder and wicket keeper as well. And then Rusty was a leg spinner. So he used to bowl leggies, and he was a pretty handy bat too, but he's an arsehole because he's good at everything he does. So.
So cricket, you played juniors at Northerners?
Yeah, so I started my juniors at Northerners, and then we didn't have enough numbers, and we'd moved into Shep. So I started playing with a few mates at school with old students.
Old students, yeah.
Played some junior cricket there and a little bit of C-grade senior cricket there, and then sort of finished my junior cricket, and then went and played back for the Northerners for a few years, and did all right. Like at the time we only had a B grade team, so I was opening the bowling for the B grade, and I won the bowling averages that year, the last year I was there, and at that time Trent and Tyson were at Caramomus playing in the A grade, so again wanted to give A grade a crack, and so I went in and wanted to do it with the boys. So
yeah,
moved into Cara and had a few years at Cara, and sort of started in the B grade and played mostly A grade cricket there.
Were you always a bowler?
Yeah, well, I like to think I can bat, but I hold the other end of it. But as a junior, I used to open the batting and then just bowl whenever I could. But after I grew, it sort of took over a bit. So
your bowling sort of a bit like your growth. Once you grew, your bowling just came along.
Yeah, it just clicked. I think everything sort of got into place, and I got the rhythm of it, and it just sort of clicked. I can't say there was one reason why it did or it didn't, but I reckon just when I grew, I could bowl.
Yeah.
I went from bowling sort of mid 120s, and then by the end of the season I was in the 130s. So it sort of happened over sort of a period, but I remember playing a game for Caramomus against Youth Club where Dale Sidey, one of our cousins, he was living in Melbourne and helping him out, and he come back and he was laughing because I was playing A grade cricket, and fair to say I gave it to him. Yeah, I ripped it because he'd spent a couple of years in the UK, so we hadn't seen each other for a while, and
he's a bit cheeky too.
Yeah, and he gave me a bit before the game started, and then we were bowling, and after the game he goes, "Fucking hell, I didn't realise you bowled that quick."
Dodging him.
So, but no, it was So I guess growing had a big part to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you played in the 2010 grand final there. 2009.
2009, 2010. We won the one-day premiership that year and lost the 2-day Hazeman Shield to Central Park.
Central Park were a pretty good side back then.
Yeah, they had some pretty good players, didn't they?
Yeah, had some really good players. So how did it all kick off for you? What was the trigger to think, hang on, I might be able to do this?
I guess it was like the conversation I had with probably Rowan Larkin at the end of that game. I remember Chris Keedy at the time was playing with us at Cara, and he did his hamstring early on in the game, so we were a bowler down, and we happened to keep him to a relatively low score. I wouldn't say it was under 100 or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I don't think it was. I think it might have been 150 or 60 or something like that. So it wasn't too bad. It was pretty competitive, and we ended up getting knocked off. And I remember sitting there having a beer with Rowan after it, and he just said to me, "Mate," he goes, have you thought about going to Melbourne?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm not good enough." And he goes, "No, mate, like you're too good to stay here. So go and
really?
I highly strongly recommend you go and give it a crack." And so Rowan had played a few years for Carlton down there and played, I can't remember, might have made 20 first-class games for Victoria as well. So he made the phone call with Peter Divenuto, who was the coach at Carlton at the time, and Diva got in touch. And I remember thinking after I got the phone call, it sort of took me by surprise a little bit because I still didn't think I was good enough. And I remember speaking to Rusty about it, and he goes, "Well, just come and give it a crack. Come and live with me. We'll get a
I'll
house
support
together,
you.
and I'll help you." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, no worries." So I went down a couple of nights. I watched him play footy on the Saturday, and they were pre-season training on the Sunday. So I went and had a couple of sessions on the Sundays, and the lads were great. They embraced me down there. I loved it. I loved every minute of it, and I just thought, you know what, stuff it. I'm going to give it a crack, and I did, and I commuted back and forth from Shep for the first probably half of the year, and then after Christmas, I got the tap on the shoulder from a couple of the first team boys who had a spare room, and they're like, "Right, well, come and live with us, and we'll take we'll take you under the wing." And they're like brothers now, to be honest. I don't have 4, I've got 6, because the 2 of them sort of took me under the wing and showed me the ropes of Melbourne, and can't thank them enough, really. But
who are those guys?
So Nick Austin is one of them. He's now the list manager of Carlton Footy Club, and Chris Sam, who only just retired not too long ago, and he was doing a little bit of coaching back there, and it was nice. So I caught up with them not too long ago. So it was good, always good to catch up and see them. But they're two of me good mates. So I've got a fair bit to thank them for
them.
You would have had a bit of inkling by then that things were starting to go okay if they're tapping you on the shoulder to say come and move in.
Yeah, I think so. I started in the 3rd team at Carlton, and then sort of I reckon just before Christmas I got a couple of games in the 2s, and then obviously because the 2s 1s and 2s mingle a little bit more, so I was mingling with the boys a bit more and got to know them a bit more, and they obviously got to know me, and I think that was probably the best thing that happened was that I got invited for a few beers with them, and I ended up staying, and it was can't thank them enough, really.
That's awesome.
So for those of you who don't know, and me included, how does Carlton? How does it work there? So Carlton is just it's one below. It's like say football. It's like a VFL.
So we'll put it into the AFL sort of rank. So you've got AFL's probably state cricket, if not international cricket, because that's the best of the best. And then underneath that, I would say is the VFL, but is probably like state cricket. So all your state cricketers obviously get picked to play for Australia. So that's a professional level. And then underneath that is Premier Cricket. So I think there's 16 clubs in and around Melbourne that play Premier Cricket, and Carlton's one of them. So they're based in Princess Park, just outside the Optus Oval there, and so that's where we were based. And
they have the first side.
So they've got 4 teams.
11, second 11,
so
11, fourth 11.
Yeah, they've got 4 11s, and I think they've got 3 or 4 actually women's teams now as well. So so they're I would say they're probably one of the bigger clubs in Melbourne at the moment. They've been pretty successful over the last couple of years. They've won a couple of flags, even though they were sort of COVID affected, but they were still really successful. So so I'd say obviously starting in the 3rd 11, you work your way up, and they obviously seen something that I didn't. And
how good a cricket is the 3rd 11? Like when
I would say,
is it A grade here?
I would say it probably is now. I think the standard of cricket down here has probably dropped a little bit for whatever reason, but I don't know. But when I probably moved down, I reckon A grade cricket probably would have been second team cricket.
Yeah, okay.
And then obviously first team cricket's another big step ahead of that. So you've got a lot of most clubs will have a professional that's playing Victorian cricket, so they'll state cricket, but and then they'll have boys coming back, and so for example, like Peter Hanscom, who captains Victoria at the moment, he plays for St Kilda. Glenn Maxwell goes back and plays for Fitzroy Doncaster. So everyone has a club that they go back to and play with, and so it's pretty competitive.
Yeah, okay. And so you went into the first year. You were there 6 months, and then got put into the second 11.
Yeah, I got put into the second 11, and I was a replacement player for one game. So I made my first team debut in my first year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was a replacement player for Evan Golbus, who's now captain and coach of Carlton at the moment. At the time, he was he was playing for Victoria in the one-day competition, the Ryobi Cup, I think it was, and so they had a game on, and so I played the first week against Fitzroy Doncaster, and we happened to win the toss and bowl, and so I bowled that weekend, and then went back to the second week because Ev was available. So
did you open?
No, I don't think I did. I think I bowled first change.
Yeah, okay. How'd you go?
I don't even think I got a wicket. I think I was like none for 50 off 11 or something like that. So it was a big step up, and but really enjoyed it. It was a good challenge. There was a couple of really handy players that were playing for Fitzroy at the time. Lloyd Mash, who played a bit of state cricket, he played, and I think he got 80 or 90 or something like that. I think the boys ended up winning the second week, but I got the short end of the stick, so I had to bowl 2 weekends in a row. So I went back to the twos the following week and had to bowl again. So
how does that happen then? It's a 2-game, 2-day match?
Two-day match over separate weekends.
So how do you get to go back?
So because Ev was representing the state, he's allowed to come back and play. But so it's almost like
it's like an interchange.
Yeah, almost because you're representing the state.
They'll
allow all the state players to come back. So
otherwise they'd be doing nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay. So you had to bowl 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, bowled 2 weekends in a row. So
was that a hard thing to do?
Nah, not anymore because I've had to bowl 3 or 4 days in a row now. But
back then it was a big thing.
Yeah. So
how did your body cope with that?
It took some adjusting. Obviously, you train for an hour or so down here of a Tuesday and a Thursday night, and then you're done. But down there, it was a big shock to go down to just to train, to be honest, because you train for 3 or 4 hours, and then if you're not bowling and you're not batting, you're out there fielding. They tend not to let you stand around for too long.
Not
doing
like
nothing,
how the net's out at Northerners.
Yeah, well, you've got 4 blokes standing behind the net slagging you off, or you just nick one. And so no, they take it pretty seriously. So it's like, I would say it's sort of it's amateur cricket at the end of the day, but it's almost run at a professional level, semi-professional level.
Not many people get to actually experience that sort of cricket. So that you play cricket around here, for instance, like Ollie said.
Well, you go to work, you go to training, and you play on the weekend.
Absolutely.
So we're starting to get a bit professional here. So that was what year was that? 2011, 2012,
2010, 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
So 2000.
I'm going to interrupt a sec. In the middle of all this, leaving school, did you get a job?
Yeah. So I did a 12-month traineeship at Sports Power in Shet, and that sort of finished up. And they didn't have any more work for me, so I left there and ended up working for Ultimate Fasteners.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So with Dean Jones,
Jones in that. Yeah.
He's probably one of my close mates, mentors, and I reckon it was a bit to do with him as well that I was working with him at the time, and he just said, mate, go and do it. You can always come home. That's probably the best bit of advice that I was given.
Yep.
That he goes, if you come back, there's a job here if you want it, if you need it, but if not, just go, because you'll kick yourself if you don't do it, and you can always come home. So
you can. When you're 40, sitting there going, "Oh shit, I could have been a cricketer."
Yeah, exactly.
At least you give it a go.
Absolutely, and that's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to sort of sit here now thinking, "Oh, I wish I'd have done it properly. Or I wish I'd have given it a crack." So I'm actually glad that I did give it a crack, and it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, you can never wonder what was going to happen.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you got to Melbourne, you didn't have to do any part-time or
full-time work or anything? I was working down there, so I was doing some data entry with P&O, so the freight trains would come in and drop all the shipping containers, and I'd enter them all into the computer and enter them out again, and did that for a little bit, but didn't really enjoy that. And then through Jonesy again, he got me a job with Cougar Sportswear. So I was out there selling footy jumpers and sports equipment, like sports clothing. So did that for a bit, and then obviously when cricket got a little bit more seriously, then I had to give it up, and I got signed up by Victoria and turned professional. So
unreal. Sorry, mate. Had to
turn professional.
I love it.
Not like us working.
Sorry, back to where you were, mate.
So where'd we go then? 2011, 2012 season. So we're playing Carlton 2s, or did we?
So had a full pre-season that year and did pretty well, and I started in the ones. So
How does a pre-season look? Because like pre-season footy, they train obviously at night and stuff. Are you playing under lights in the winter, or like you're training under lights?
So they're all indoor
everything's
nets.
Indoor.
Yeah, all synthetic indoor nets, and then. We used to train at Xavier College, so they had the outdoor tennis courts, and we used to do some field and stuff on the outdoor tennis courts under lights. And, and then all the nets would be done indoors, so it was pretty handy. And then on Sundays were generally the big days, so we'd have a net session, we'd have a big group fielding session, and then there'd be a fitness session in there somewhere, whether it be running, whether it be on the exercise bikes or in the pool or doing something. So
you have to be super fit.
Yeah.
So it's like the footy pre-season to a certain degree.
Yeah, it's pretty intense at times. Obviously, it's not as intense as some of the footy. You're not running as much as probably what you do in the footy, but you still got to be fit because at the end of the day, you spend 96 overs in the field. You're bowling 20 overs a day, or you hope to be bowling 20 overs a day, and if you're not fit, you're not going to be able to do that, are you? So. It's pretty
intense.
That was the biggest thing that I sort of had to cope with, was get my head wrapped around how intense it was and how much training, how much more like
weight sessions and all that sort of stuff.
Not so much with Carlton, but then when you get into the Victorian sort of stuff, then they're in. You're in the gym sort of 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, okay. Shows how naive I am about cricket.
No, I'm learning lots. It's not my thing, but it's very interesting.
Well, I suppose most people don't get to see this side of it or hear this side of it to a certain degree. So, okay, we've done a full pre-season.
Yes, I did a full pre-season and started in the first team and was going all right. I played, I think, the first 5 games and ended up with a stress fracture in my back. So,
from bowling, you think that?
Yeah, I think everything sort of added up, and I can't put my finger on why it happened, but I think that's probably a big factor, is that the intensity rose again, and just the sheer workload of bowling, going from country, you bowl twice a week, but you don't bowl very much, where you're bowling at good intensity 2-3 times a week plus playing, and
full on.
Yeah, so it did get full on, and then got the stress fracture in my back, and had the rest of that year off. So
what's a stress fracture in your back look like?
I had a 3 centimetre crack in my L3, I think it was, in my left hand side vertebrae. Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah. I was going to say, as soon as you start talking back injuries, like most people don't have any sort of recovery from that.
Yeah,
not short or long term.
It wasn't like, it was basically just rest. You can't really do anything. I remember I was battling with my back a few weeks leading up to us getting in to get an MRI scan and actually getting the diagnosis. But I think it got progressively worse and worse, and then to find out you got a 3 centimetre crack in your back. It's not great, but
no, not at all. So Ben, how do we fix that? We go and play footy, mate. It can go.
Oh, you didn't.
Yeah,
that's a 2012.
Did the other club know that you were doing that?
Yeah. So, and this gets back to with why I have to thank Nick a bit more as well, because Nick works in footy and he's now the list manager at Carlton, and he knew I was playing, and I didn't know he knew that I was playing. So we're on the bus. We're on the bus on the way home from Finley after we'd just beaten Finley, and I'd kicked another 5 or 6, and I got a message on the way home, and then it was Nick, and he's like, "Are you playing footy?"
Uh-oh.
And I was like, "Nah, mate, no, I'm not." Nah, and he's like, "All right." And then he goes, "Right, we'll come round for dinner on Tuesday night," because I was still commuting from Melbourne. Yeah. And so I went round for dinner on Tuesday night and walked through the door. It was just blasé as a normal dinner night would be. And he had his laptop open up and he goes, "Seen you kicked another 6 on Saturday." And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
So he basically sat me down and just said, "Listen, mate, like, I don't think you realise what kind of opportunity you've got ahead of you. I think you need to make a decision, and I played another couple of games, and then actually it sort of sunk in. And he put it this way: he goes, "You might not get injured, but someone might fall over in front of you, and then you do your knee, and that's it. Your footy and cricket's done."
Yeah.
So it sort of hit home a bit that actually he's pretty right, and then had a good chat with the coach at Carlton, Tim Welsford, who it was at the time, and he goes, "I probably would have let you play, but I'm glad you didn't, because I didn't want you to get injured." And and you know, it's probably one of the better decisions I did make in the end. That it wasn't worth. Yeah, it was nice to have a couple $100 in your pocket on a Saturday night, but it probably wasn't worth the risk of someone, you know, falling over or something in front of you. So made the decision, and not to say the boys at Kingatton were too impressed with it, but shit happens. It's
you got a better opportunity there.
I don't think they understood at the time of when I made the decision of how close I was to that next sort of level.
I was going to say your level of cricket was well beyond what people were obviously realising at that time. Your mates just wanted you to come back and have a kick, but
absolutely. And no, to be honest, we were having a pretty good year. I think we're in the top 3 or 4 at and they ended up playing finals, but I think Finley beat him in the first final or something like that, and so I copped it for a couple of weeks. But
you're knocking on the door of state cricket.
12 months later, make your debut for Victoria, and then you don't hear anything. So they actually say, "Oh, actually, you probably did make a good decision." There. So
it's a good thing.
I suppose it's another one of those. If you don't give it a go. If you had kept, I just
didn't want to. I didn't want that regret. Regretting anything. Again, it's what happens with Victoria later on, and then I get the opportunity to go to the UK, and again, I was umming and ahhing whether to do it, and I was just like, you know what, stuff it, let's go. And it's all worked out pretty well.
At the end of the day, it's Murray Football League compared to...
I know, but I think it's just life's full of decisions, though.
It is.
And isn't it funny when you can go back and listen to a story like this? There's still plenty more to go,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And those decisions carved your way, pretty much.
So into rehab?
Yeah, so into rehab, which sort of just entailed a physio session every 3 or 4 days, and that was about all I could do. And then we started doing a bit of Pilates as it sort of progressed, and and then I got the all clear from the doc and said it's healed. So I was like, right. And then once I got that news, that's when I went back and started playing footy. I didn't play footy with a broken back, but I made sure I was right before I did anything stupid. And then I finished the footy halfway through that year, and then had another pre-season, and then I think I played every game in the ones at Carlton the year after, and got invited to go down and have a couple of net sessions with Victoria, and then started playing some second team cricket with Victoria, and did pretty well. And
what's that like? What's it like getting a call from? How does that work?
It's pretty intimidating, really, because they obviously, the chairman of selectors will come around and they'll watch games of cricket over a weekend, and this number just pops up on your phone, and I had no idea who it was, and so I just answered. I was like, "How you going, mate?" And he's like, "It's Andrew Lynch, chairman of selectors at Victoria. We've picked you in a second team. Can you get time off work to do it?" So every second team game, excuse me, is a 4-day. I think it was a 4-day game. Yeah. So whether it's at home, whether it's in Melbourne or interstate, you can't obviously work. So I had to obviously go ask the boss if I could have a week off, and he, to be fair, he was pretty good with it as well. He just said, "Yeah, go, mate. I'm not going to hold you back. You've got an opportunity here, so go for it."
So either give me a week off or I'm quitting.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think he got pretty sick of it towards the end of the year, because I was asking for a week off every 2 or 3 weeks. So, so I just said to him, "I need to keep working, but obviously I've got this opportunity." And he was really good about it. He goes, "Yeah, I'm not going to hold you back. So I'll give you the leave, but I'm not going to pay you." I was like, "Righto," because I was getting paid to play in the second team, getting a day rate or whatever it was. And so did all right with them and played a handful of second team games that year and did pretty well. And then I remember getting a phone call from Andrew again and saying, we've picked you in a Sheffield Shield squad. And I was like, right.
Holy shit.
Is this a stitch up? Or
again, I just had a week off the week before because I'd played in a second team against the England Lions, the England A team that were touring at the time. And he just said, of course you can have it off, but when's this going to stop? And I was like, well...
It's not, mate.
It's going to stop when I stop working for you. So, I got dropped off at the airport and we flew over, and I just sort of... The way I got explained it was that you're going to be in the squad and you'll just be in the squad to get to know the boys a bit. And
so you went to the airport. Where'd you play?
In Hobart.
So you got picked to play against Tassie.
Yeah, picked to play against Tassie. So we flew over to Hobart, and we had a training session on the Wednesday afternoon. So there was a bit of time to kill in the morning and stuff like that. And so obviously just trying to get to know the boys, and we all got told to prepare as if you were, all playing the next day. And I was like, well, I've got no idea how to prepare properly for a 4-day game. This is my first sort of experience at it. So just went and had a bowl and got the tap on the shoulder that you've bowled enough. So just settle down, go and catch some balls, and that'll do, and you can come back for a hit. And I was like, right, no worries.
What do you think then?
I was like...
This is how they do it, obviously.
I was like, I didn't really think anything of it. So I know they obviously have to keep you pretty fresh for the next day, but they want you to have a bowl and, get going again. And so, did that. Went out and caught some ball, went and had a hit, and thinking the team would get announced on the Wednesday after training. And Greg Shippard, the coach, was like, everyone's got to prepare as if they're playing tomorrow. We still don't know who's playing. So we all rocked up at Blundstone Arena on the Thursday morning and all got told to prepare as if you were playing. And I was like, well, again, I don't know how to prepare for a 4-day game. So went over and went to have a bowl and got tapped on the shoulder and said, no, you're not bowling. You can have a hit and you can have a field, and that'll do you, I think. And still didn't know what was going on. And then
Cam White. You all just think, why aren't they letting me bowl here?
I was just, all right, no worries. It's like, it was all pretty surreal at the time. Like, I had no idea what to expect or anything like it. But Cam White, the captain, tossed the coin, and I had him and the bowling coach, Damien Wright, come over and shake my hand, and you're in.
The game has started just about.
Yeah, half an hour before the start.
That's right off.
Toss of the coin, they've just come over and shook my hand and said, yep, we're bowling.
And that's it.
There's the ball.
You're open.
Yep. So Cam told me, as he shook my hand, he goes, we're bowling, you're going to bowl the second over uphill into the breeze. I was like, right, no worries. And Righty looked at me and goes, no, you're not, cock. You're taking the first one. And I was like, nah, Whitey's already told me. And he's like, no, I tell fucking Whitey what to do. So, stood at the top of my mark and absolutely shitting myself.
Yeah.
With this brand new fucking red kookaburra in my hand, and just, I remember looking down and I was just like, how the fuck have I got here? This is... I was like genuinely petrified.
Yeah.
So I remember John Hastings coming over from mid-off, which is one of the fielding spots just next to you there, and tapped me on the arse and goes, cock, you'll be right. Just do what you've been doing to get you here and you'll be fine. And I wish I could remember more of those 4 days, because it was, I remember enjoying it.
Yeah.
But I don't remember a hell of a lot of it. It was all pretty much a blur.
Who were you bowling to?
So I had Mark Cosgrove and Jordan Silk. They opened the batting. I got the first wicket. I got Mark Cosgrove out, LBW. I don't think it was out, but it's in the book. So I think it was a bit high, but
it's in the book. Doesn't matter.
It's in the book, and then so they won for 160 odd or something like that.
Oh, really?
And out walks the ex-Australian captain, Ricky Ponting.
Oh, bullshit! This is good. I like this.
On debut.
On debut. Again, standing at the top of my mark, absolutely shit myself. Bowling at a bloke that I've idolised growing up. I've watched him play X amount of test matches, score X amount of runs, and he's up the other end. And I'm just, fuck, this is no good, this. Again, Hasto run over. Cock, you'll be right. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're going well. It's all right, no worries. Punter scores 100 in the first innings. They get 400 and something. I think we might get 300 or something, so they've got a good lead. And I remember walking out to bat. That was probably one of the most scary moments I've ever had either as well. Cause
what number did you bat?
I batted at 11, where I belonged. And
He's realistic.
Yeah. Got Ben Hilfenhaus running in and bowling at you, and he's over 140s, and I'd never really faced anything that quick before. And I remember Dave Hussey was on, what was he on? He was on a high 80s, I reckon, at the time. And I walked out to bat, and Evan Golbus, who I played with at with at Carlton, he was playing for Tassie at the time, and he's bowling. And he walked in, and I had one ball to face, and Huss was like, don't worry, he's not going to bounce you. He's just going to try and either get you bowled or LB. And I was like, yeah, all right, no worries. Get the pad out of the way or hit it. I've got Ev standing at the top of his mark, and he's got the ball in his hand, and he's rubbing it under his nose, smelling it, as if he's going to bowl me a bumper. And I was like, fuck off. He runs in. It's pretty full. I get the smallest of inside edges onto my pad. They're a big appeal. Not out because I've hit it. So I was like, oh, thank fuck for that.
Survived the first ball.
Survived that. End of the over. Huss is up the other end on 80 odd. Hilfy's running in. He faces 5 dot balls, and Huss comes up. He's like, are you going to be right to face an over from that end, or do you want to get up the other end? And I was like, I'll get up the other end.
I'll run.
And he goes, he's going to bowl me a real high bumper here, and as soon as he touches the crease, start running. So I was like, yep, no worries.
Can do.
So I took off. Tim Payne's caught it, had a shot at the stumps, missed. So I got through. Huss comes up the middle in the end of the over, and he's like, were you in? And I was like, nah.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, story goes on. Evan Golbus running into bowl again. Huss, cut shot 4, cut shot 4, cut shot 6, 100. Never been in that situation before. Didn't know whether to hug him, didn't know whether to shake his hand. I'd only met him like 48 hours beforehand.
Or bow to him. Well.
So I went up, give him a fist bump, shook his hand. I said, well done, mate. And then next ball out. So I was like, not out. Perfect. Yep. No worries. Happy as Larry. Went out and had another bowl. Only bowled 12 overs in the second innings or something like that. So I only ended up with one. My match figures were 1 for 96. So I was happy with that. Walking out to bat the second innings. I've got Ponning at short leg. I've got Jordan Silk at silly mid on. Heart's absolutely racing. Hilfenhaus has bowled me a bumper. I didn't see it, and I shit myself. And Punnan just said to me, he goes, heart rate's gone up a bit there, hasn't it? And I was like, yeah, and I reckon I've got something in my jocks too. Anyway, next ball out, we lost. I think we lost by quite a margin, a couple hundred runs or something like that. And but I do remember just sitting in the dressing room after, having a good chat with Ev, who I played with at Carlton, and then he waved Ricky over, and Ricky come and had us sit down, so I had a chat with him for 10 or 15 minutes, and he shook my hand and said, well done. He goes, congrats on your debut, well done. I thought you did pretty well. Like, you were the one I was targeting, and you held your own for a bit. And he goes, I'll basically give you an A4 sheet of paper on the wicket, and if you didn't hit it in the wicket, if you didn't hit that A4 sheet of paper, you were going. And I was like, fuck, that's how good he was.
Yeah.
That he just says, if it's in there, that's all I'll do. But if you're
a bit out, I'm going after you.
If you're a centimetre short or a centimetre full, he's pumping you.
Yeah.
So I do wish I remembered more of that experience, but it was pretty surreal.
Do they record those games?
No, I don't think they did.
Oh, that's a shame.
I don't think they did. And I was a little bit disappointed as well, because I was told that Victoria were going to fly mum over to watch and stuff like that, and that never happened. So I was a little bit disappointed with that, but
yeah,
shit happens.
We didn't know until 20 minutes.
Exactly,
game, so.
exactly. So, I just remember sitting there in the dressing room before we started, and I sent the message out, and it was a pretty surreal 4 days. That's all. That's unreal. Yeah. So that was that, and that was the last game of the year. So finished that, got signed. I had a decision to make. Not long after that, I had Tassie knocking on the door as well, asking me to go and play for them as well. So I had the decision to make whether it was going to be Tassie or Victoria, and chose Victoria, and that was my one and only game for Victoria. So,
what was the feedback like from that game?
I think it was all positive, but it was more on the case of, right, you've had an experience of it now. That's the expectation. Like that's the level that you need to get up to. Yeah. If you want to play more first class cricket, then you've got to be at that level. So it was a massive eye opener for sure. So signed a 2-year contract with Victoria. Again, another pre-season in the cricket. So you're going from Carlton pre-season to a professional setup. So you're in every day. You're running.
So we've turned professional now.
Yep.
So no more work.
No more work. Quit the job. Signed up. Didn't that? Yeah. How we started in the. When was it? I'm trying to think now. We started obviously I reckon we started around June, July, and obviously the cricket season doesn't start until end of September.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of weeks where I wasn't working, but I wasn't. The contract hadn't quite kicked in yet, so it was an eye opener for sure. But you go from being a premier cricketer that trains twice a week and plays on a Saturday to then a professional cricketer who trains 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
Yeah. So you'll have a Wednesday off, and then if you're in the cricket season, you'll get Fridays off, but you'll have to do like a light gym session in the morning, so it's not really a day off, but because then they want you fresh for Saturday to play Premier Cricket or gearing up for a second team game or whatever it is. So I guess the stress on my body probably took a toll a bit.
Again?
Had a few more injuries at Victoria, so I had a couple of stress fractures in my feet, a couple of side strains. So, played a bit of second team cricket, but was never really that close to probably getting back. I think the closest I got, I had to go back to Hobart to run the drinks. I was 12th man. And it was a day-night game. It was the fucking coldest 4 days of my life. I don't think I've been that cold. It was freezing because you can't sit up in the dressing room in the viewing area. Yeah. You've got to sit down on the sidelines because if someone needs something, you've got to get it. So I had 3 jumpers on, I reckon, and I was still freezing. It was so cold. It was so cold. But that was about as close as I got back to playing for Victoria again. So.
Yeah, okay. Was that mostly due to the injuries, or?
I think so, and then a bit of politics when you start to get up that high. There's a bit of politics, and if you're not liked by one person, or if you're liked by another person, or whatever it may be, and I think a couple of injuries played a part in it, and then they recruited a guy from New South Wales, Chris Tremaine, and he sort of took my spot, and it just meant I was competing with him. Scott Boland, who's now played Test cricket, John Hastings, Peter Siddle, James Pattinson. So I was competing with guys that had played international cricket. So, I loved the 4 years I was there, or 3 or 4 years I was there. But looking back, I was probably further off than I thought I was.
Yeah.
So
Ben mentioned before the decisions you make along the way. Tassie obviously approached you. How did you make that decision to stay in Vic, or was it just, I'm a Vic boy, mate, so I'm going to stay in Vic?
I undernarred about it because I got flown over to Hobart and they took me around the facilities and had a good chat and we did all that, and I was seriously contemplating it because at the time they had some older bowlers and some younger ones, and and I was 23 3 or 4 at the time. So I was sort of in between their young boys and their older boys. So I think looking back, I probably might have played a little bit more cricket over there, but I've tried not to look at it like that, because if I sit here and think what ifs.
Well, at the end of the day, that's a decision you made, and that shapes your career. You just got to live with it. So you do. Yeah, you'd live with it. But it's certainly the politics side of it. It's like, I refer back to AFL, but like if a coach doesn't like you, it's hard to get a game and make a carear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what you felt?
Not really, but I think looking back, there probably was a little bit of that. But again, I was competing with guys that had played international cricket, so
that makes it tough, doesn't it?
Yeah. So when I basically the last straw with my Victorian stuff was the 2 stress fractures I had in my feet. So I got a stressy in my right foot, and then worked my ass off to get back to try and play some cricket for the back end of the year, so that I could try and push for another contract. And I remember it was my last net session before I was going to play on the Saturday for Carlton, and I bowled 10 balls and it went again on me.
Really?
Yeah, that was pretty dark day that day.
Yeah.
But again, things happen for a reason.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
I lost my Victorian contract. And
how does that come about?
So I was lucky enough. I got told basically when I busted my foot the second time, they basically said, "That's it, mate. Like, we'll give you some opportunities to go and pursue cricket interstate, and we'll give you an option to leave early if you need to, but this is the direction we're going." So I was like, "Yep, no worries, fair enough." Like, I can't ask for too much more. Like, they gave me an opportunity to try and stay in Australia, but the opportunity never arose, and I had a second option that, with mum being English, or being born in England, it meant I was eligible for an English passport. So the next summer at Carlton, I had probably my best summer for Carlton, because I played every game, and I think I took 50 odd wickets for the year, and had a really good year. And I had to go and pick up some work, so I was working with TNF Cricket at the time, who are now my kit sponsors, and good bunch of lads. So they looked after me for 6 months while I was here, and I remember it was Michael who owns the business, and he just said, "Go and get your passport. What are you doing, mate? Like, you've got such a good opportunity. Go and get it. I'll help you wherever I can." And a friend of his, Gareth, a Welshman, who's a good mate of mine now, he came over and was watching Carlton. And originally I was planning to go to England in 2015, but I busted my foot, so I couldn't go. And then so I ended up going in 2017 and originally I was just going over to play club cricket over there and have a bit of a life experience, and just go and travel and just enjoy the time I was there. And then I think they found out that I had a little bit of talent, and they asked me. So I played second team cricket for Warwickshire, Northamptonshire, and Nottinghamshire as well. So
okay. Well, let's hold on for 2 seconds. We're going to give another shout out to our sponsors. So season 2 of Two Blokes from Down Under is brought to us by Ken Mustard Automotive. For all your motoring needs, pop down and see the team for Isuzu Ute, Ram Trucks, MG, Jeep, Subaru and Mercedes-Benz. That's Ken Mustard Automotive, 215 Benalla Road, Shepparton. And this episode's brought to us by Extons of Benalla, proudly family owned and operated since 1952. Extons are your one-stop for all your earthworks, bulk haulage and equipment sales. You can find them at 85 Gilly Street, Benalla, or jump onto their website at extons.com.au. All right, so we've made a decision to head over to England. That's a big call.
Is that before, like, had a club already shown interest and said, "You've got a gig here," or you're just like, "I'm going regardless"?
So Berkswell Cricket Club, who I played with in 2017, I was originally going over in 2015 to play with them.
That connection already. Yep. Okay.
So,
and who were they?
They play Birmingham Premier League cricket, and it's sort of like the Premier Cricket of.
So it's like a Carlton.
Yes. Yep. It's like a Carlton of Victorian cricket, but they're based in Coventry, just outside of Birmingham, and there's a few other like clubs around the sort of the Birmingham and Worcester areas that that play. And the captain of Berkswell at the time was Dom Osler, and he's a Warwickshire legend. He scored 19,000 runs for Warwickshire and played in their 1994 treble winning season where they won all 3 trophies in that year. And he basically just tapped me on. He just said, "You're not going anywhere else. You've got to be a Bear." So he got me into training, and I played a couple of second team games. I remember playing.
Where's this at? Is this at Berkswell or is
this? So this is second team for. So Ozzy was the captain of Berkswell, and then he got me down to Warwickshire and asked me to go and trial there and play a bit there. But
yeah, okay. So Warwickshire is then like the Victorian level.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So hang on.
It's hard to follow here.
How long have you been in England at this stage?
Probably 4 weeks.
Holy Jesus.
So what's it like? You've been a country boy and then you've moved to the city for a little bit. Family of 5 boys. What's it like to then go, "See you, brothers, I'm off. I'm moving the other side of the world"?
Well, at that stage, I was only going for 6 months.
Yeah, okay.
So I was going on a holiday, and I was going just to have a good time and enjoy it. But
did you have a place to stay? And
yeah, so a part of the deal that I got through Berkswell was they paid for my flights, accommodation. They sorted me out with a car and a little bit on the side as well. So, yeah, I thought I was a rock star. I rocked up, got picked up from the airport, and
with a sign. Did they have a sign?
Nah, no, they didn't. I got picked up by the guy that I eventually was living with, and yeah, so he took me back home. We had a shower and a couple of quiet hours and stuff like that. And he's like, "Right, come on, we'll go and pick your car up." And I was like, "All right, well, what kind of car am I going to get here?"
Fiat 500.
I have no idea what to expect. So I rock up and there's a 320D BMW sat there with my name on it.
Really?
So hence why I thought I was a rock star.
Wowzers.
So I got to drive that for what I thought was going to be 6 months, but turned it out to be 8 months because I got signed by Warwickshire halfway through the year.
Mm. So what was your first game like for Berkswell?
Again, it was pretty cold. Early season over there gets pretty fresh. But I remember driving over to Wolverhampton and I don't think I set the world alight or anything like that. I think I got 1 or 2. I got a couple of wickets and didn't have to bat. And
they disappointed. All these blokes think,
I think it just took
rock star from Australia.
Different type of ball over there too. So you use a Kookaburra ball here.
Yeah.
And then you use a Duke ball over there. And
a what?
A Duke ball.
That's their brand.
Yeah, the brand is Duke. And
okay.
And they're like chalk and cheese.
Really?
Yeah. These things hoop around corners if you get the right conditions on an overcast day, which it was.
Yeah.
And the Kookaburra balls don't swing for very much. If you don't look after a Kookaburra ball, they go soft pretty quick and they stop swinging. So, getting hold of one of them was an interesting couple of hours. But
how was your first ball?
It wasn't too bad.
Moved it like 3 foot.
I think it was more seamed off the wicket than anything. I'm not much of a swing bowler anyway, but if I'm swinging it, then it's pretty good swinging conditions. But yeah, I think I got 1 or 2 for 30 off 10 overs or something like that. So they were happy with it, but I don't think I set the world alight. But, but yeah, it was good because I guess go back to your earlier question of flying halfway around the world. It was a pretty easy decision because I knew I had 10 other blokes there that were interested to meet me, and now I've got 5 or 6 real good mates from Berkswell that October next year I'm a groomsman of one of the boys, and so it's like it's a good bunch. It's almost like being back home with the boys because they take the piss out of you just as much as you take the piss out of them. And I think that's the reason why I enjoyed it so much. Firstly, was because I went there. Berkswell don't train. Oh. So, and they're a very good team. Later on, we won 4 flags in a row, but we haven't trained once since I've been there.
What? No net sessions or anything?
No, there's nets there, but no midweek net sessions. So I think at one stage we had 9 ex-professional players in the team. So we're a pretty handy group. Yeah. But yeah, none of us were just interested. We're all just there having a good time on a Saturday. And
so did you still rock up on a Thursday night and have a beer or something? Or
no.
Just stayed home?
Well, depending on... Well, they train Wednesday nights over there, but I was I'd been there for probably 3 or 4 weeks, and then I got asked to play in the second team at Warwickshire. So midweeks I'd be going to play I played 1 game in the seconds for Notts, played a handful for Northampton, and I got a handful for Warwickshire. So like midweeks I'd be away playing cricket, and then I'd come back I'd drive home on a Thursday or Friday, and pull the boots on again on a Saturday, and pin the ears back Saturday night and have a good time and do it all again. So when I say I wasn't training, I was playing.
You were still playing.
Yeah, I was playing 4 or 5 days a week.
So what do they play midweek over there or something?
Yeah, so when you get like Warwickshire is like Victoria, so it's the professional level. So
I suppose
it's not state cricket; it's called county cricket over there, and so their second team is made up a lot of guys that are contracted. So you'll have you'll generally have 2 or 3 trialists playing most weeks. But that was me for the first sort of 3 or 4 months. Well, 3 or 4 months.
So just cricket non-stop?
Yeah, just cricket, yeah.
Any money? How are you getting money?
So I got paid by Berkswell, and then I was getting a day rate for the county clubs that I was playing for.
What's a day rate like?
I think it was like £100 a day. So it's not great, but I didn't have any overheads. So I literally had to pay my phone bill, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I had a bit left over for a few beers. So it was... I actually loved that sort of first 3 or 4 months. It was great. Just the accommodation that we had was it wasn't in the nicest area. Like the house and stuff was great, but it wasn't in the nicest area. So I was in the centre of Birmingham, and it took me about 20 minutes to drive out to Berkswell most days. And so I think having the accommodation the way it was sort of got me out playing cricket during the week as well. So I took every opportunity that I could, and it was almost like a second chance, really. Like I wanted to give it a crack, but it wasn't the be all and end all of it. Like if I ended up with a contract at the end of it, good and well. But if not, it's fine. I'll just go home, and I'll
just having a ball,
and I'll go, and I'll see you next year, and I'll come back. Like,
so were you thinking I'm just going to have fun?
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't really care if I get a contract.
Yeah.
What you said, but did you have in the back of your mind, there's a chance here I might get a contract?
I reckon it was. Yeah. I thought I was a good chance of getting one, and especially after the couple of games for Warwickshire, we went up to Newcastle, and the way they do it with their second team over there was you generally play either 2 T20s or a one-dayer on the Monday, and then you'll play a 3-day game Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I remember we played against Durham up in Newcastle on the Monday. I took 5 in the first T20, and then
in the second side.
Yeah, in the second side, and then we got, because there was 2 T20s on the same day, we bowled them out cheaply in the first one, and then the second one they got 200, and I got 1 for 24 and bowled really well. Then the 3-day game starts on the Tuesday. I took 5 in the first innings of that, and it was rain affected, so we only bowled 1 innings. And then we came back from Newcastle to Birmingham, and I remember getting a phone call from the second team coach at Northants, and he was like, "Can you play for us? We're playing against Warwickshire next year and next week." And I was like, "No, sorry, mate. I've already committed to play for Warwickshire." So we rock up to the second ground in Birmingham there, and I'm playing all right, full of confidence. It was a pretty handy side we had out. We had Jonathan Trott captaining, because there was a red ball break at the time, and he wasn't in the white ball team, so he was captain in the second team, and Tim Ambrose, who played for England, and Chris Wokes, who's just won the T20 World Cup again, and he was playing, and Ollie Stone, who's played international cricket. So I was like just little old me, just plodding in, and got a couple of wickets in the first innings. And I remember Ollie and Chris were were both coming back from injury, so they were on restrictions. And the coach come and tapped Chris Wright, who was the other bowler in the team, and he tapped us both on the shoulder and goes, right, you two boys, we've only got 8 overs left in the day, so you two bowl. And I was like, right, no worries. And we'll keep Woksy and Stoney for later on, for tomorrow. And we had them 4 down overnight. Righty had 2, and I'd had 2. So Richo, the coach, was like, yeah, there you go, have the ball back, you've earned it. I took the next 6 wickets, ended up with 8 for, and signed a contract the next day.
Really?
Yeah.
So that 8 for is still in the seconds team?
Yeah.
And then they come to you. What did they do?
So
Ring you up? Or?
So I had the coach tap me on the shoulder and say, you need to give Ashley Giles a call, who was the director of cricket at the time. And we played a bit of phone tennis. So I missed him, he missed me, back and forth a bit. And then he basically said to me, he goes, I want to have a meeting with you. And I was like, yeah, all right, no worries. When do you want to do it? And he goes, can we go at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, please? And I was like, can we do a bit later, please, Ash? Because I want to actually have a few beers and enjoy it. Like, I was honest with him and just said, I want to have a few beers and enjoy the night with the boys. And he goes, yep, I'll see you at midday. So rocked into Edgbaston, which is where Warwickshire are based. Had no idea where I was going, and had a meeting with Ashley Giles and walked out with an offer of a contract. And it was just that was only the remainder of the season. So I had a few things to work out with Berkswell because I was under contract. I was their overseas professional.
Yeah.
So we had to wait a few days so that we could sort a few things out with them, and they were pretty good. And they said, yeah, obviously we'll let you go, but we're not paying you anymore, and you got to get paid from Warwickshire. So, but we want you available every weekend. And I was like, all right, no worries. So.
It's a lot of cricket.
Yeah. It got to a point where towards the back end of that year, I was playing a 4-day game from Tuesday to Friday, and I'd play cricket on the Saturday for Berkswell and have a couple of days off and go again the next week. And
that's a lot of cricket.
Yeah, it was.
You've obviously had some injury concerns over the time. How was the body holding up?
That was probably the best my body's been at that stage.
Really?
Because I wasn't netting, I was playing.
Yeah.
So you don't smash yourself in the nets all the time. You're out there playing. So
yeah,
I was fit and I was going well. So I was like, I'm not stopping it. Even if I've got a niggle, I'm still going here because I'm trying to get another a contract extension. So, but yeah, I remember sort of having the meeting with Ash, and I remember a couple of weeks before that, I was trying to get to Lords to watch England South Africa Test match, and I had a looked online for tickets, and they were like £250 a ticket, and I was like, nah, stuff that. I'll watch it from the pub. I'm not that interested. But I'll do a tour on a day that it's not busy and stuff like that. But yeah, it happened to be that the first game I played for Warwickshire was at Lords.
That's really cool.
Going from big old Tallygarootna to the home of cricket, it doesn't get much better.
That's pretty cool. So that was in your first year with the back half of the season.
Yeah, so that was in the August of 2017. Yeah.
How did that come about? How did you get the nod there?
So basically, I signed the contract, and then I was told I was travelling, and again, not sure whether you're going to be picked or not, and then got told the day before you're in. Like, Warwickshire weren't going great that year. We got relegated.
So when you say relegated, you went down to Division 2?
Yep. So it's still first class cricket, but at the time there was only 8 Division 1 teams and 10 Division 2 teams, where since then they've reversed that and it's 10 Div 1 and 8 Div 2. Yeah. We won one game, and that was my debut at Lords. And we got belted every other game, I think. So,
oh, really?
But yeah, went from Lords to Old Trafford to Edgbaston to Headingley. So I knocked off 4 of the international venues in my first 4 games.
4 of the biggest grounds there are. What's it like walking into Lords? Like, literally, you're going into the car park. Where's the car park? How are we going to find a car park?
Yeah, because there's only a small little car park. So I got one of the other boys to pick me up. So I didn't want to drive in London. I was not interested in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we drove in, and Yeah, it's pretty
yourself.
it's pretty surreal because we're there the day before, so you have a net session and stuff the day before just to get your body going again and get prepared. And walking up the stairs into the dressing room, and the dressing rooms are quite small. Like the Lord's ones aren't too bad, but the viewing area is crap because you've got the small little balcony and you've got the door, and then that's it. You can't really see it. Like, you can't watch unless you're on the balcony, basically. But then you walk down the stairs and you walk through the long room, out onto the ground, and they talk about the slope at Lord's, and you're like, oh yeah, small little slope. It's 6 foot.
Yeah, it's ginormous.
So you walk out and you don't notice it. You can see it on the TV a little bit, but you don't notice it how big it is until you actually step foot on, and you get about halfway out to the wicket.
Which dressing room do you have?
So we're in the right. I've been in both, but we're in the right hand side of that picture, the away dressing room.
So if anyone who's watching, this is where Warnie did his little dance. Is it that one?
Yeah, that's it.
So Ben, it's hard to tell here, but it's high on that end goal.
It's high on that end. Yeah,
it's high there.
So if you're fielding down here on the left hand side, and at stages I was eye level to the actual pitch.
So the easiest way to tell, if you look where the stadium is on the seating on the fence,
the pavilion's level.
You come down here.
So the pavilion's level and the ground, and
it's crazy, isn't it?
Ground's not.
Can I ask why? It's a dumb question. It's just how it was built.
Yep, just how it was built.
Not for any reason. Just ended up being that way.
Been there since the conception of cricket. So.
Yeah, it's over 200 years old, so it's just sort of...
So you're not going to change it, are you? It's the history of it.
Yeah.
And that's why they say...
So he wasn't a farmer, the guy that made this thing?
Probably not in the middle of London, no.
It's like playing at Mansfield in the fourths, mate. When you stand at full forward and you can only see the half the legs. You can only see the top half of the other players, so... That's pretty cool to play there.
Yeah. Been lucky enough to do it a few more times since then.
Yeah.
But again, it's pretty surreal when you walk down, and doesn't matter whether you make a duck or you make 100. You walk in and out the long room, and they're giving you a clap.
So is there crowd?
Yeah,
Much crowd?
Yeah. Members are in there. Yeah.
Do they get a lot of?
So I reckon it's a lot more followed over there than it is first class cricket here.
Because you look at the Victorian sides, they get 42 people at their game.
So they'll get a few hundred, if not 1,000 people to a day to a day of cricket. Where a lot of the teams in England are all member owned. So a lot, obviously the ECB fund most of the things, but all the members have a say on what happens with with all the clubs, and and they're all voting on scheduling and all that kind of stuff. So
it's a different world, isn't it? It's just a sport with a lot of history there. So long.
Yeah, absolutely.
How'd you go? You obviously won, but how did you go?
I did all right. I got 4 for in the first innings and 2 for in the second, and we won in 3 days. So, and
this England cricket's easy, man.
luckily we did, because it absolutely hammered it down on the Friday.
Yeah, okay.
So we made the most of the extra night in the hotel and had a good time in London.
Kept up the Sidebottom tradition. Yeah, drinking a few frothies over there.
Foster's.
Foster's, really?
Because they're a sponsor of Lord's. So.
Oh, really? That's disgusting.
But it's actually not too bad over there, because it's brewed
disgusting.
over there. It's crappy, but...
Yeah, it's terrible. Where to then? What ground?
So from there, I think we went to Old Trafford in Manchester. So, and it's a stone's throw away from the actual Old Trafford football pitch.
So when you say football, you mean soccer?
Soccer, yeah. Soccer, sorry.
Yeah.
That's it. We're just bringing it up on the big screen here so we can see. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, so that was a long 4 days. We got belted by 400 runs or something like that. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
What's it like there? That's a good ground?
Yeah, so that's one of the test venues as well. It's almost like the SCG. It spins more than the other wickets do in England. So it's generally a load of the test venues get used a lot. So you'll play 1 day first class, 4 day cricket, T20 cricket, test matches, ODIs, and so there's 7 or 8, I think, first class, international venues. And I think the 5 big ones are, 5 or 6 big ones are Lords, the Oval, Edgbaston, Manchester, Headingley, and Trent Bridge.
Played at them all?
All bar the Oval.
Yeah, okay.
So
that's your first year under contract?
Yeah. So went all right. So I ended up, I think I had 20-odd wickets in 6 games. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah. So I did all right. And got offered another contract for the next year. And so I was like, yeah, all right, I'll see you in 3 months. I'm going home.
So that's what you did? You come home for 3 months?
Yeah. So I came home for 3 months, had a bit of a break.
Played for Northerners?
I played a couple of games for Northerners, and then I played some T20s for Greenvale, which is another Premier League team. My first coach at Carlton, Pete Divenuto, was coaching at Greenvale, so he sucked me in with a brown envelope. But and so I went down and played some T20s there, and then went back in the February and caught the back end of the pre-season. And because we've been relegated, so you normally have a pre-season tour where you go abroad. So whether we've been to Spain, we've been to Abu Dhabi, Dubai. But this year, because we'd been relegated, we decided to get a marquee tent and put it on the nets out the front of the stadium. So I remember, flying back in, going to train, and you got snow halfway out the fucking wall of this marquee, and we're in. So because you've got to keep the thing warm to grow the grass back and do all that. So you've got a heater, you've got a dehumidifier in there and stuff like that. And I think it worked out more expensive than what a pre-season tour was. But it was an interesting, 2 or 3 months, I can tell you that.
Pre-season's over there, you don't really stay there. You've got to go away because it's so cold.
Well, you do stay there for most of it, so you'll be back indoors. So most counties will have an indoor centre, and then their gyms and stuff will be at the ground. So you'll be based at the ground every day, well, basically every day. Couple of gym sessions, couple of running sessions, a fitness session, and some net sessions indoors. And I think the reason they wanted the marquee was to get outside on turf, rather than just being inside on synthetic wickets again. And that's the main reason why they go abroad, is to get out on grass and turf and get some sun on your back. And it breaks the pre-season up as well. Otherwise, it's pretty long. They're not great because in the middle of winter, it gets light at about 10 o'clock in the morning and it gets dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's proper miserable.
How do you cope with this? Do you actually get used to it?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, but can you get is it still half enjoyable, or you just deal with it because you got to?
Deal with it, but you just deal with it because you've got to. You're generally getting home from training on any day, and you'll have an hour of sunlight or 2 hours of sunlight, and it's pretty miserable. So
how cold are we talking?
It's snowing at stages. It's proper Baltic.
So does it snow the whole of England in winter?
Not all the time, but you'll get. So my first full winter we had the Beast of the East come over, a big storm, and it dropped a shitload of snow. So we couldn't get into training. So we had 3 or 4 days off. So it was great. I got to actually enjoy the snow.
To make a snowman?
I did.
Of course you did.
I remember...
Angel wings.
I remember driving the first time in the snow. That was interesting. I didn't go very far. I turned around and drove home. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. This is shit. Slipping and sliding everywhere. But so no, I got to enjoy it. It's enjoyable for about the first hour, and then it gets pretty boring pretty quickly because you're stuck at home. You can't really do much. And been lucky enough to have that. And it's been a life experience for sure.
What year are we talking? Your first season there, what year are we talking here?
So my first season was 2017.
2017.
Yeah. So back in the February of 2018.
Yeah.
And then, so I've been there 5 years. I've had 5 years of county cricket.
5 years with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What was COVID like there?
Not great.
Did you get to play or you didn't?
We had half a season, so we had 5 first-class games, I think, 5 4-day games from the end of August, and then because they still wanted to play the T20s because that's their big revenue maker.
Yeah.
So they needed them to go ahead so that they could get some money back involved. So we were lucky because we were deemed essential, so we got to go back to training pretty early on.
Yeah.
And initially we were only in small groups of like 4 or 6. And it was the same 5 other blokes you were with for the whole 2 months, I think it was. So like it wasn't too bad and it was a great summer. Like the weather over there was awesome. Like it barely rained that summer. So we were spending as much time outside as you could. So it wasn't too bad. Like I definitely didn't get cabin fever or anything like that. So I was going to training and the missus was working from home and we'd go for an hour walk on her lunch break or whatever, and so it wasn't too bad. Like,
so summer over there, because Ben was a bit shocked on winter hours, light daylights. What's the summer like?
So it's more like a summer here with daylight savings. So it'll be light early and then it'll get dark at 10 o'clock at night.
10 o'clock at night.
It's just that everyone's dying when it's 30 or something there, aren't they?
I reckon if it gets anything over 35,
the
joint shuts down.
I love it when I see it on the news, eh?
Well, what do you mean shuts down?
Because
it's too hot for people.
It's too hot. It's not built for hot weather. There's not a lot of air conditioning in the UK.
Really?
It got to 43 this year.
I was going to say that actually surprised me.
That was fucking hot.
Because when they said there's a heat wave, and I've gone, it'll be 32 or something. And I'm like, 43. I'm like, yeah, that was pretty fucking hot. Though.
Yeah. So for 3 days, it was 39, 43, and then 41.
So how do you cope with that with no air?
You literally bunker down. So we moved the mattress from our spare bedroom down into the living room. Mind you, at this stage, we had a couple of week-old baby at that stage. So
yeah, that'd be rough.
So she spent most of the time in a nappy. That was it.
Yeah.
But we moved into the living room, which was the coolest room in the house, and you had a couple of pedestal fans that was just throwing a bit of hot air around, and you just have to deal with it. So
yeah.
So
I think you would have dealt with it a little bit better than some of the countrymen.
Fair to say I handled it a lot better than most people did over there.
Yeah.
You would have said this is just a normal summer over.
Is it fun giving them shit, like when it's like in say the 30s and they're having a bit of a whinge about it and you're like,
well, it gets to 28 and fuck, it's hot. No, it's not.
You've still got a jumper on.
This is beautiful.
This is breakfast weather.
No, it's they like to whinge about everything.
I was going to say
it. You can never keep them happy. It's either too wet, it's too hot, it's too dry, it's too cold. It's always too something. It's like, fucking hell.
That's funny.
I hope a few of your teammates listen to this. So
I'll send the link around. Don't worry.
Great.
They're the worst of them.
I was going to say, I'm sure you give it to them anyway.
So you've been there five seasons.
5 seasons, yeah.
And what happens now? You still there or not?
So I'm finished up with Warwickshire. I've sort of parked it a little bit and I've left it there, and I'll pick it back up in January when I get back over. But I've got a couple of options to go. I can either go back and trial again, or hopefully my agent's doing his job and he sorts something out. So
so at this stage you don't have a contract?
No.
Is that other younger talented players coming through, or is your last season dropped off, or
a few more injuries along the way?
Okay.
So out of, I reckon, the last 3 years, I reckon I've only probably played 5 or 6 games.
Oh, right.
Maybe 9 tops, I reckon.
Yep.
Each year, or for the whole 3 years?
For the whole 3 years.
In that grade.
Really?
Yep. So I played, excuse me, I played the first game in 2019 and ended up with a stress fracture in my shoulder blade. Don't ask me how that come about. There's apparently been only 3 other blokes that have ever had it.
Yeah.
So it's a freak accident injury. So
Yep.
I had a great summer in 2019 because I was still being paid, and I went and just did a sports tour. I went and
Foster's.
Yeah, I went to Wimbledon. So my partner Tash is a rower. She was rowing through school. So we went to Henley Regatta and I got to experience that. And then we did Wimbledon, and then we went to Twickenham to the rugby and went to a few soccer games, and I went to Dublin, went to Montenegro. I had a great time. It was awesome.
He's toured the world, this young fella.
That's all right.
How did you meet the, I won't say wife because you're not married. How did you meet the hugs and kisses?
So she works in sport. So she works for the English Institute of Sport on the PR side, and her sister's a sports lawyer. Now, her sister used to do a bit of legal stuff for the Professional Cricketers Association in England. And every year they do a gala dinner for like an awards night. And so Abby got invited and had a +1, and Tash was her +1, and she picked me out of 120 other blokes. So she can't be real bright.
Here's this little Aussie fella. Hello. Yeah. How are you, mate?
Couple of Fosters, and it was, how you going, Dale?
Oh, that's quite funny. Yeah. So you're going to head back this year, or next year, sorry, in January, and you're going to... So is England home now?
It's becoming more home. Obviously now with Tash, and we had Cassidy in July, and we've bought a house and stuff over there, and we got a dog, and so it's
got a dog.
Yeah, it's home. It's home for now, and I'm not in a hurry to move back. I'm not ready to finish cricket yet. I've got a decision to make if I want to go back and trial. If not, then I'll find something else. What that will be, I don't know yet. But
you're injury free now.
Yeah, but there's no point being injury free now because I've got no cricket to play.
Yeah.
So it's a bit frustrating. Like the last sort of 2-3 years have been pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
Being on and off the park, and then had a good pre-season this year, and thought I was half a chance to play the first game for Warwickshire, but ended up being sent out on loan to Derbyshire, and so I spent the first 2 months of the year there, played 4 games, I think.
And they're another
Division
1?
They're in Div 2.
Div 2,
yeah. So I got to work with Mickey Arthur, who's one of probably the best coaches I've worked with. He's coached Australia, South Africa, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. So he's a real good operator, and actually really enjoyed the first 2 months of this year because it was just all fresh, and it was nice to be almost valued again in that way that we want you here, we want you to play for us and that. So unfortunately it didn't go to script. I bowled 7 balls in the first game at Lords and pulled my hamstring. It was only a minor one, so we rehabbed it for a couple of weeks, and I got back and I played 2 more games, and then it went again. So that was a bit frustrating because then it meant I had to spend a bit longer off than I did the first one because it was a proper closer to the tendon and all that. So I had to be a bit more careful being the second one in a short period of time. So did that, and then pulled my calf just before I was about to come back and play. And
you're getting old, bud.
You're telling me.
Getting old.
But then, I got back and I played 1 game. I played the second last game of the year for Warwickshire, which was 1 more game than I thought I was going to. Because at the stage, I was on and off with injuries, and we had a new coach, and I probably don't have the best relationship with the head coach. So we sort of butted heads a few times and didn't see eye to eye. And again, that's sort of the politics behind the scenes that not many people see, and that sort of made it a bit more frustrating. I basically had to beg him to let me play the last second team game of the year because I was coming back from my calf. He's like, "You're right," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I had 2 bowling sessions, and I was like, "Yeah, I want to play. I need to play, otherwise my season's done."
Yeah.
So I went down and took 6 for in the first innings, and ended up playing the first cast game the week after. So
really,
yeah,
okay. So you finished on a good note.
Yeah, not really because I got dropped the week after, but at least I was fit.
Yeah.
At least it was out of my control.
Yeah.
So yeah, got to play another game. That's So
Yeah. Okay. So do you do anything while you're in Australia now? Do you are you starting to train, do some stuff, thinking, hang on, I'm still not finished with cricket. I'm going to do something.
Yep.
So are you hoping to get another first class contract?
Yeah, I am. I am hoping to get another one. Whether I get it in January or whether I get it in March, I don't know. But
with the same club?
No, it won't be with the same club.
No,
it'll be with a different club.
Yeah, okay.
Which is fine. Like, I moved halfway around the world to get there. What's another couple of hours down the road?
Yeah.
So yeah, not ready to finish up yet, but I just don't know what's going to happen yet. We'll see. We'll wait and see. It's a funny game, cricket. Like, you're only ever an injury away from playing, and that's what happened this year. Like, I was an injury away, and I got picked. So you're never too far away from it. But a lot of the counties, you need a big sort of squad of bowlers, because it's not a real good thing to do to your body, bowling. So when you think of it, every time you run in and let go of that ball, there's 8 to 10 times your body weight going through your back, your hips, your knees, your ankles. Yeah. So,
how fast are you bowling now?
I haven't been clocked for a while, but I reckon it'd be mid to high 130s, and if I'm having a good day, I'll push 140. So
it's pretty freaking quick, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't want to face you.
No.
I
don't even do backyard with a tennis ball well, so
a lot of talent on this side of the table.
It's not my forte.
Who was your idol growing up? As in your cricket idol?
My cricket idol, I reckon, was probably Brett Lee.
Because he was a fast bowler?
Yeah, I just used to run in and try and bowl as fast as I could, and that's what he was the bloke that was bowling fast at the time. So I've been lucky enough to meet him briefly, but yeah, it was great. Like, when you walk into a professional environment for the first time, and you've got the current Australian opening bowler, Peter Siddle, coming in and shaking your hand, it's just like, wow, this is awesome. Like, it's a pretty surreal experience when you actually sit down and think about it. I've met some great people along the way. It's been pretty cool. Like, you wouldn't excuse me, you wouldn't really know this, but there's another cricketer in England.
I know this.
Ryan Sidebottom, and I've been lucky enough to meet him as well, albeit very briefly.
How good was he? He was a gud, wasn't he?
Played for England, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was real good. Left armour, big curly hair. Right.
Yeah. Big golly.
Big wig. Big mop of hair. And so in my first year at Warwickshire, he was playing for Yorkshire. So we were up at Headingley playing against Yorkshire, and he tore his quad the week before, so he was meant to be playing in that game. So, and I remember it was his last year, and they were doing a little bit of filming stuff around the ground, and I was fielding down at fine leg, and I could hear the crowd start giggling, and I was like, "What's going on here? This is generally not good." And I turn around, and they've got the camera, and he's stood at the back of the pavilion, and I just give him a thumbs up, and I was like, "Looking good, mate." And he goes, "Yeah, cheers, bud." Right. And then the crowd just had another chuckle, and but yeah, I'd love to sit down and have a few beers with him and just chew his ear off, like, just for his experiences, and yeah, just to sort of share stories of, obviously, his old man played soccer for Manchester United and professional cricket for, I think it might have been Lancashire or Yorkshire, one of the two, and then Ryan's obviously played for England and done really well, but. Yeah, I'd love to get the opportunity to sit down with him for sure.
Yeah, okay. Who's the biggest name cricketer you've met, in your opinion?
Well, they don't get much bigger than Ricky Ponting. I've met him. I've met Sir Viv Richards. He was the coolest bloke I've ever met.
He's a little bit bigger than Ricky Ponting.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I've met Warney.
They don't get any bigger than the King.
Yeah, he's pretty good. and then you go the England side of things. Like obviously with Wokesy and stuff, he's a pretty handy player. Got to play with Belly and Ian Bell and John Trott, and so I've been lucky enough to play with and against some bloody good cricketers.
Yeah.
So just don't know how I've bluffed my way through it.
Long way from tally, mate.
It is. Pretty good career, isn't
It's unreal.
Yeah.
I love
It's pretty outstanding, really. Something to, and I hope it's not finished, that career.
Yeah, hopefully.
I hope it's
Fingers
hopefully
crossed.
you get back and get another contract and go again.
Yeah,
Hopefully injury free.
Time will tell. But
you'll be right.
If it is the end of it, like I've been lucky enough to do it nearly 10 years. So I'll just look back and think fondly of all the memories, and I've been I'm one of the fortunate ones that I've been able to call cricket a game of cricket that you love. It's
a job. Yeah.
So at times it feels like a job and it loses its sparkle and all that kind of stuff, as work does. But
everyone does. Yep.
You've just got to keep dragging yourself back to think, actually, no, I'm the lucky one here.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
because I mean, to make a first class side, there's 11 players.
Well, it's a lot harder over here in Oz than it is in England. Obviously, you've got your 11 boys that are playing for Australia, and then you've got 66 other blokes that are playing in state cricket. There's only 6 teams, so only 11 blokes in a team, and so it's not real easy to get in it. But I'm the lucky one. I've been fortunate enough to be able to do it, not just here, but all over the world.
Yeah,
so.
It's pretty cool. I reckon
it's awesome.
It's pretty cool. Fantastic career so far. Hopefully we've got a little bit to go. Thanks for coming in, man.
No, I've enjoyed it.
You win the award for longest travel.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll tell everyone that you came all the way here for this.
Just for this. Fly home tomorrow. We always finish the podcast with 3 questions.
Right.
Okay. So first question, what was your first car?
My first car was a VN station wagon, white Commodore. I loved it. I paid $500 for it.
Did you buy that off Mum?
No.
Mum had one of those too.
Mum had one. Yeah, she still had hers, I reckon, when I had mine.
Yeah. Okay.
But I bought it off the Pedrettis from Tally.
Yeah.
And bought it off them for $500, and I made money off that car. It got written off, and the insurance gave me $2,500 for it. So
look out. Do you have a name for it?
No, I didn't.
No.
No.
Oh, well. What's your favourite food?
My favourite food, I reckon, it's got to be steak.
Really? Not bangers and mash?
Nah.
Been over England so
Nah.
much?
I will say I absolutely crave the Parma, because they don't do them over there. And coming back, obviously I had the missus and little one with me, and so we got back on the Thursday, and I was like, right, we're going out for lunch. We're going to the pub, and I want a Parma. So
what do they do over there instead? Nothing.
No schnitzels, no Parmas.
Really?
Yeah. So
chicken at all?
Yeah.
Well, how do they do it then?
They just don't crumb it. It's all breast.
You should start a pub over there.
No wonder they whinge a lot.
Surely you'd find an Aussie pub over there that does.
Yeah, but they're no good.
Oh, I know.
It's just not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not. You don't. It's not worth going to have one, because it just. Yeah.
It's shit.
Yeah.
What about a blood sausage? You had one of those?
I've tried it once, and I will not try it again. It is awful. Black pudding, they call it.
Black pudding,
and it's horrible.
Yeah. That's a pommy thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can stay there. It's
yeah. All right, so favourite food, steak. All right, last question. 3 people you could invite for dinner, dead or alive, any era. Who would it be?
That's a tough one, that. You've got me stumped here.
Can I just give you a red hot tip? He's going to sit here looking at you until you answer it.
I'll answer it. I'll just
Smear for 4 hours.
There's too many to choose from.
I reckon Muhammad Ali would be one.
Yeah.
I reckon I'm going to have a pretty sport-dominated
Yeah.
dinner. Muhammad Ali would be one.
Being very patient there, Simon. Dead or alive?
Yeah, that's
Any era.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
So they don't have to be alive now. Obviously, Muhammad Ali's not alive.
Yeah, good question.
Is this the other?
That's the other Ryan.
That's the other Ryan.
Come on, man. Our viewers are going to disappear.
Yeah, well, I probably should have done my homework, shouldn't I?
You should have listened. I told you that.
Yeah, all right. We'll go Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Let's go the other Ryan. Because
the other Ryan.
Yeah.
The other one.
The other one.
Yep.
Who's your favourite cricketer? Who would you sit down with?
Well, Viv was pretty cool. I'd like to get to know Viv a bit more, I reckon. So there you go.
That's your third?
There you go. There's the three.
Oh, Vivi Richards. Chewing his chewy.
Yeah. Right. The old Calypso King.
All right. Before we go.
What do you got?
I've got one other question for you. I'm very disappointed. So, if I am to Google Ryan Sidebottom, Shepparton, now, I've got to find it first. Here we go. Oh, I found it back there. Go back. Look at this. Look at the beard there.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. I expect you to, that's the photo I seen, so that's what I thought.
Where is it?
Like.
I'm disappointed that you shaved it off.
It went during COVID.
Why?
I'd had enough. My face was just in bits. My skin was atrocious underneath that thing.
Don't moisturise it, mate.
It didn't matter what I put on my face. It didn't work.
That's a pretty impressive beard.
Yeah. I was happy with it. It took me about 12 months to get it to a point where I could start to get it like shaped.
Yeah.
And then I had it for probably another 12 months. Come home with it, and Twiggy Josh has got a beard. He wasn't too impressed because I had him covered.
Well, I'm a bit disappointed you got rid of it since I'm a beard man. So
I had to. It just, it got itchy and, yeah. Can you imagine running into bowl? So it's 25. It's anywhere between 25 and 35 in the day in the field. You're running into bowl. Your face is sweating. You just can't help yourself. But you got to scratch. You got to itch, and then it gets worse, and it gets worse, and it gets worse. So it got to.
I'm disappointed, mate.
I reckon I know what you're going to say.
I don't think he's running around bowling anymore.
Oh, wowzers. All right, Ryan, thanks for coming in. Thanks for having a chat with us.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable career so far. It's fantastic to see that the highs that you've got, and hopefully you can get another contract and go again. We all wish you the best for that, mate. So thanks very much for coming in.
Cheers, boys. It's been a pleasure.
All right, before we go, Season 2 with Two Blokes from Down Under was brought to us by Ken Muston Automotive for all your motoring needs. Pop down and see the team for Isuzu Ute, Ram Trucks, MG, Jeep, Subaru and Mercedes-Benz. That's Ken Muston Automotive, 215 Benalla Road, Shepparton. And this episode's brought to you by Extons of Benalla, proudly family owned and operated since 1952. Extons are your one-stop for all your earthworks, bulk haulage and equipment sales. You can find them at 85 Gilly Street, Benalla, or jump on the website at extons.com.au. Well, Benny, there we go. Another episode.
Another one.
That's pretty cool. Cricket.
Interesting one.
Yeah, didn't know a lot about it. I know a little bit about cricket, but I didn't know a lot of ins and outs of that. So
no, it was fantastic. Loved it.
Very interesting. So there you go, guys. So another episode down. So look forward to the next one. Stay tuned.
Yeah, show him I can still rap though. Now I'm in the game, I was on the bench. First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. First it with the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the back like here I go again.